To cushion the effect of subsidy removal on Nigerians, President Bola Tinubu has approved the establishment of the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative. The initiative would ease the impact of the petrol subsidy removal on Nigerians by reducing energy costs. It's also aimed at revolutionizing the transportation landscape in the country, targeting over 11,500 new CNG-enabled vehicles and 55,000 CNG conversion kits for existing PMS-dependent vehicles. Presidency sources say this will bolster in-country manufacturing, local assembly, and expand job creation. What are the likely constraints to the effective implementation of the initiative? What needs to be done to ensure its success? Is it the right policy to address the impact of subsidy removal? Can the governance of the oil and gas industry be able to deliver on the initiative? These are questions begging for answers. Let's now talk more on this as we are being joined by Arise analyst and executive director of British School of Social and Political Thoughts, Dr. Amadi. Dr. Amadi, thank you for coming to Newsnight.
Thank you.
CNG initiative, we're back on this. Now, we're beginning to see at least that the government is open to alternative to petrol, So what is the workability of the implementation of this initiative?
Well, I think first, it shouldn't be seen as a palliative, as a response or a mitigation for subsidy removal.
Right.
It's true that the politics of subsidy removal, and because government has no direct response to the challenges of the impacts in terms of well-defined intervention that can address those mitigation, those impact, then resort to using the CNG. The CNG policy has been there. The former the GMD carrier, meaning 3 years ago, promised to convert 1 million vehicles or thereabouts, and we've not done that. So even before then, right from Dangote, Dangote had a CNG conversion station, constructed. So it has been a policy of government, right from Obasanjo time actually, to find an alternative to petrol. And there were issues around LPG as well. If you look at some of our West African countries, even before during colonial era, Shell BP, we are running on LPGs has been a major, not just for domestic use, for everything. So this idea of alternative has been there. Now the issue now is, if we want to make speed and effective deliver on it, 3 years gone, about 25 billion now being given to NNPC or NIPCO, whatever, to do this and do that, Lagos and Abuja sector in terms of retrofitting and building this infrastructure. So people are raising three clear or 4 issues. First is, during the pressure committee of the type that the Chief of Staff is heading to discuss this matter, is it in terms of responding to NLC, which is a negotiation that is holistic, including minimum wage, and this is part of it, or is it in terms of industry competencies to look at the problems and address them? You're going to have issues of gas gathering. I mentioned it the other time that we are supposed to have about 206 trillion cubic meters or 200 something cubic meter of gas availability, which makes us the leading gas supplier in Africa. About that. So if you do that, but we are doing only 1% or less than that of gas, 1 point something actually of available capacity that we are able to mine. So what that means, about 2.5 to 3 trillion cubic meters what we can develop and generate. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, if we have capability of 208 trillion and we're doing only 2.5 or thereabout, that's about 1%, how do we ramp up capacity to get gas to? Because CNG is compressed natural gas. They all come from gas. The gas that we use for power plant, which we have gas crisis that is constraining capacity growth in the generation value chain, which is, if you look at the everyday report of the system operator, you see that 2,000, 3,000 are constrained. They have no gas to fire them. So people are saying, are you ramping up capacity for gas processing? Three is that you're looking at infrastructure. So gas conversion kit, about 50,000 government has promised to do with this project. Are you able to do that quickly? Is that even enough? So how about trucking those gases? How about the supply infrastructure that's constrained? So people are saying, look, you need to put in a lot more money than you can afford now. So the question then is it going to be a rushed project for purpose of dealing with the optics and the inconvenience of subsidy removal? Or are we now ready to start dealing with the real issues around movement towards a gas, if you like, a gas economy, like NNPC made them? So the question then is, maybe we should step back and redesign, factor in all these crises, and create a real process that allows us to unlock these. Pricewaterhouse estimates that we could even have as much as 18 point something billion dollars that we're not able to get. We could be losing in terms of export up to 7 to 8 billion, from crude, 106 billion. So a lot of money is involved that we're losing by not optimizing our capacity to harness the capabilities in the gas and the opportunities in the gas industry. But you need more work than we are doing now.
Dr. Amadi, if I get you very clearly, you are particularly concerned about the sustainability of this initiative.
Even the doability, the pragmatics, a lot of things.
And the sustainability, so it doesn't look like a flash in the pan.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what are your recommendations then? If you are concerned about the sustainable and effective deployment of this initiative. Yeah.
Okay, I have three broad suggestions. First is, I would like us to move from a presidential initiative headed by Chief of Staff and to a real technical working group.
Right.
That surface all the issues. So first, let's not see this as a response to the palliative, to the subsidy removal. Maybe procurement of CNG cars or buying from local suppliers, whoever they are, is an intervention. I mean, it frees it creates some mobility, reduces cost of transportation. But this is a part of the Nigerian economy, an economic support program. We should create a working group that looks at this at a high level. Two, we shouldn't allow it to become part of rent seeking. So maybe a few quote-unquote gas gatherers or some technical people who say they can provide, conversion. So you drop some 1 trillion or some 10 billion or 40 billion, and they scramble over it. We saw what happened with the power sector. Once we said we're deregulating, we're licensing people, all kinds of people talked that government is going to bring heavy subsidy, drop money. So everybody went and collected license. They have no capacity. So let's not this be contract driven in terms of, there are people who say, we can retrofit and we can do that. This is the billion to do this, and the money goes off. No, let's first sit back and say, start from the value chain, from gas capability, availability, to gas gathering, to gas processing, because the same problem we have with structural crisis of getting gas to power will be the same structural crisis we face from gas to CNG conversion points. The infrastructure in terms of gas transportation, gas gathering ability. Then you do a comparative. Some people are talking about LPG, some people are saying CNG. So you look at it and put it in holistic, not just for cars. It's okay, this is portable. I mean, Pricewaterhouse talked about close to maybe 10 point something billion annual possible revenue from exporting, optimizing this sector. So these are the kind of things we need to do. And then fourthly, I think there should be much more disclosure and less, for now. We shouldn't just start signing off contracts or things like that. We should really surface all these problems, create a framework that is clear. And experts say this is doable in terms of both. So you start off and this is where we're going to. Even if it's a multi-layered, a multi-year project, but let it be something that is not driven by the inconvenience of today's subsidy removal, because this is not really a response at all. If you do this and say, okay, create a conversion point, the cost of each conversion for person who have those cars are going to be It's pretty much, and government may have to spend money sometimes. But again, the question then is, the people who are going to convert this at the first time will be private car owners who probably have the capacity to continue to take fuel at this present point. The real issue here for the most of Nigerians will be provision of adequate buses that are both CNG and maybe dual possibilities, or even CNG. So if you do that, you are dealing with the immediate problem of mobility for those who can afford it. So that you now take time to roll this out as a real, structured, sustainable, efficient and effective
system
policy.
Right. Now I said that the 11,500 cases will be just like a test case. Anyway.
No, those are the vehicles.
Yes.
The 55,000 is the case.
Yeah, the 55,000 were the kits. So these are just test cases anyway, in all. And let's look at the value chain. You know, when you talk about value chain, I get excited because what you tell me is that there's something in it for everyone. Job creation, the local manufacturing will be helped and all that. So, in a few seconds, what do you see in the value chain? What do you see?
Well, based on estimation by Pricewaterhouse too, they talk about possible 7-point-something, billion dollar job value. You talk about the whole, maybe something like 108 or so billion estimating, or so a lot of. In terms of export products, in terms of job creation, it's that's what they call it, gas enhancement program and gas economy.
Right.
It has a lot of potential, but like every writer, look, we did the back of envelope calculation. Power has potential. If you look at the demand supply gap, power should be a lot of money, trillions coming from power in terms of both product development and technology, investment, services come out of it. But we've not yet optimized that possibility. So Nigerians rush to value chain revenue. We're going to make trillions. But the problem is that we don't sit back first to study the constraints we have to deal with, the transformations that has to happen in the whole sector. Now, the gas, petroleum sector, the gas and oil sector, which is the petroleum resources sector, it needs a better governance infrastructure. We have NIPCO that has set up some, in Benin, for example, we have some success story about 6,000 seats to have converted. Now, what's the per unit cost of those conversion in real sense? Now, marketers and service providers will come with ideas about. So first, you need to disconnect these projects from contracting. And the problem with Nigeria is that oftentimes service providers drive policy change initiatives. So they force government into some $1 billion or $1 trillion in a support system. So, okay, we're doing a CNG fund of this trillion. And so they've earmarked contracts to award. And it's, while on the way to contract delivery, discover that you've not dealt with gas. Where's the gas coming from? So we have this 208 trillion cubic meters of gas. But we only did 5-point-something. We're only dealing with 1% or more than 2%, no more than 3% of that availability. So, and then we need to process. We're processing less. We need also to talk about trucking or infrastructure that will take them to those points. So, until you work out those things, not necessarily do them, until you work them out, you can't say this is a profitable intervention at this point. So again, time series, something that is profitable, trillions of dollars or billions of dollars in value, may not be profitable at this point because you still have to, the things you need to do to make it turnkey, make it deliverable, are still, lie in the future. You've not done them. So until you're able to do them, or at least conceive what needs to be done to get them done, you can't call them a proven a bankable intervention for now.
Right.
So I'm not saying this is not a big game changer. It could be, but I'm saying that let's proceed. With rigor, with thoroughness, and factor all the constraints and deal with them and see whether. But definitely, it's not a response. It's a response to the subsidy.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Sam Amadi, a RISE analyst, for having a thorough look, I must say, at the compressed natural gas CNG initiative with us. We just hope that this will be some respite for the Nigerian economy.